Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first annual, or I guess our inaugural local Viking demo webinar. We are going to do this about once a month. You will probably find me here. Sometimes you might find Chaz or Mark. I am Nate Fisher, if you guys aren't familiar with me. And today we are just going to kind of stroll through the functionality that we have in the platform. Feel free to drop any questions related to GMBs, related to ranking GMBs, related to using the software. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in, and you guys can let me know if you have any questions at all. So let's go ahead. I'm going to hop into a test account here. And let's go ahead and log in. If you guys have a local Viking account, that'll probably look familiar. If you don't, you can go ahead and get signed up right now. We are running a special launch promo, which will be closed, I believe, next Monday morning. So in about less than a week here. So I am looking at the local Viking dashboard. Really quickly, if you look under your settings tab, you can manage your subscription up here. You can find our help docs by clicking on the help icon. You can add sub-users into your account, or you can always log out. So really quickly, let me look at the sub-users tab. And anytime you want to add a sub-user to your account, you are able to do that. Users can be either admins, which means that they have complete access to all the locations within your account, or they can also be members, which means when you have a member, you're going to have to come here and you're going to choose which locations that they have access to for posting, for adding rank tracking keywords, or using any of the functionality. So the first thing you're going to do when you get into your local Viking account is you are probably going to need to add your Google account. So you're going to click on this Google Accounts link here, and I'll go ahead and show you what happens when you go and add an account. You're going to go over to Google. You're going to end up doing the OAuth handshake, and you're going to come back, and you're going to see a page like this where you can choose which locations you want to be enabled, which locations you don't want to be enabled. Anything you have enabled is going to count against your location limit, which is going to determine what tier you're on or what pricing package. The other thing to note when you're looking at your Google accounts is there are RSS feeds, and I will show us that as we get into the location, but you do have an RSS feed that's at the account level, so any locations underneath a Google account will have a master RSS feed that you can pass over to something like Zapier or IFTT. And another quick note here while I see it, if you ever see the refresh icon, feel free to click it, maybe hop into the live chat, let us know it popped up. Just means that we lost our connection between local Viking and your Google account. Could have happened because you changed the password, could have happened because of a number of reasons. So simply reach out to us and we will try to figure out what happened there. And let's go ahead and kind of dive into functionality. I am going to go over the test location here, and this is going to be every single location that you happen to look at in the local Viking dashboard. Here is your standard view. You guys might be familiar with this if you've logged in before. Again, we have the GMB insights here. We have the ability to rank or to track keywords, which I will go over, and then we have our nice little calendar UI so that we can see scheduled posts that we have already put out, posts that have already been published, everything for this location. Really quickly on the insights, let's say you wanted to see how you've been doing for a client, and you want to see how maybe the insights for March went compared to the insights for February. You can go ahead and automatically compare two dates, and you will select the properties from the location that we want to prepare. Let me pop my phone off here. So let's go ahead. Let's say we want to look at listings on map, maybe listings on search between the 2 months. You'll see that we now have the comparison between the insights rendered into our chart. So it's just going to be an easy way for you guys to visually show your agency customers that you have been increasing their visibility, you've been doing good things while optimizing their GMB. The next thing I want to quickly talk about here is going to be the keyword tracking that we have in local Viking. The first keyword tracking that we're looking at is kind of the standard or traditional keyword tracking. We're actually pulling this data directly from a partner. You might be familiar with SERP Robot. That is who backs us on our traditional rank tracking, if you will. So when you come and add a keyword, you have the option to add whatever keywords you want, and you can choose if you want it to be Google Local Desktop, Google Organic Desktop, or Google Organic Mobile, and you choose the check frequency. We do have a credit system, so one keyword and one check type and one check is going to equal 1 credit. If you have all 3 of these checked, anytime it goes, it's going to equal 3 credits for every keyword, and so on and so forth. The other type of rank tracking that we have built in is something that I'm going to get to after we go through posting, but that is this GeoGrid search. And if you notice right here on your keyword table, you do have this option here to turn on the geo area tracking. And right now the UI is a little bit hidden, but if you were to come in here and turn this on, every week, once a week, we're going to run the GeoGrid search for this keyword for this location. So you'll see over time, you'll be able to notice, visually see your visibility rising with our color heat map, which we will see as I get into it. The last thing I wanted to show here on the keyword side is our links right here. Now, if you guys are familiar with iSearch From, or I believe Bright Local has an option to do this, this is just our little mechanism of providing some manual ability to click through, and we're going to embed some lat-long details into the URL, and you can kind of just give a manual spot check of where your property ranks for a given keyword. If you guys have been around local for any amount of time at all, you'll probably be aware that tracking local rankings is a bit of a mess, kind of a nightmare right now, but we do have multiple different ways you can look at your rank tracking data in the platform. Another thing we have here is our RSS feed. If I click into it, you can see, let's go ahead and open it really quickly here. I'm going to open it up in the code editor so we can see. If you are not familiar with RSS, essentially all it is, let's open it in Sublime Text here so we can see it. So here is the RSS feed for this location. This is essentially just a flat XML file. You will take the URL that we give you, you can drop it into an RSS reader, you can drop it into Zapier, you can drop it into IFTT, and you can automatically syndicate your GMB posts from local Viking to any other properties that accept RSS. The other thing we have here that I'd like to point out, this is pretty much brand new functionality. The only piece of newer functionality is the last thing I'm going to show. But if you have malicious edits happening to your GMB, maybe there's people ganging up on you with Google Guide accounts that are dropping your PIN into the ocean, maybe they're updating your business hours, you can now come in here to every single one of your locations and you just click into this bell icon. And we're going to be looking at the notification settings. And essentially this is saying every time that I have my property's name attribute changed, I'm going to go ahead and get an email and I'm going to get an SMS. And that's going to allow us to determine when people are maliciously editing our GMB. Now, we actually took this one step further, where not only are we allowing for notifications on this, but if you come into the attribute editing page here, which is the place where you can come to change a lot of your GMB properties directly through our dashboard, you can actually come to any one of your properties and you can click the locked icon here. Now, when you've got that clicked and we detect that somebody has changed an attribute, even if it's you, we're hoping that it's a malicious attribute edit, we're going to programmatically puts your attribute directly back into your listing via the API. So this is going to protect you from ever having any of your attributes accidentally or maliciously changed or updated. I know this is a big problem if you're managing a bunch of GMBs. It's definitely an important thing to have. We've had a bunch of times where we've woken up and a client GMB or one of our own GMBs has been toyed with by some of the competitors, and this is a method to completely stop that from happening. As I look into the questions here, got a question from Darren. Yes, Darren, there definitely is going to be a replay. I believe it says here that I'm recording, so we will get that out right after. We've got Chris asking, are they really allowed to edit our listing? Chris, saying that they're allowed to edit our listing is probably not the best way to phrase it. There are unscrupulous individuals that have figured out that there are ways to edit listings. So you can suggest edits from high-powered Google Guide accounts and kind of string multiple of them together. The Google My Business platform in general is a bit more gameable than a lot of Google's other infrastructure. So the longer that you're in the GMB game, the longer that you're dealing with ranking GMBs and managing them, you're going to see a pretty decent amount of shady activity happening. It can definitely be a bit of a cutthroat part of Google, similar to some of the pretty competitive affiliate niches in just pure organic search. Google has some pretty tough GMB niches. So we've got a question here quickly from Mark Page. Hey there, Mark. How do I access my client's GMB account? So when you go to the GMB platform, you can be added as a manager. You'll have to have your client log in. If you haven't set up the GMB for them, then you can go ahead and get your email added as a manager. And once your email is added as a manager, you can come back to Local Viking, pop in that email, do the OAuth handshake, and then you will be able to pull in and manage all of your locations for that customer or that client. So let me hop back over. We've gone through locking the attributes, which is some new functionality. You can edit all of these attributes that we have here directly through the API. So we've got regular hours, special hours, your phone number. One quick note, if you are editing GMB location properties, be very careful not to edit the wrong ones. You could trigger re-verification. So if you edit the name of the GMB, if you edit the categories, if you edit the phone number, you're definitely going to trigger re-verification. It is possible to trigger re-verification for some of these other fields, but those ones are definitely high risk. And let's go ahead and look at our media library here. So we have the ability for you to upload photos directly to your GMBs through the Local Viking platform. You can choose what category a photo is going to be, and you can set it as the main photo, and you can go ahead and browse from your local hard drive and click upload. And that is uploading images through the platform. Let's go back to my location listing here. And the next thing we're going to talk about is actually posting through the platform. So Local Viking does a few things, and one of the main things it does is helps you with posting to your GMBs. We have 3 post types. So the first post type is going to be the simplest to understand. It is posting one message to one GMB. And we have the multi-location post functionality, which means you can take one message and post it to as many GMBs as you'd like at the same time. And then we have the CSV bulk upload, which is going to allow you to upload a CSV and a bunch of posts at the same time that can either be scheduled immediately or scheduled out in the future. So let's go ahead and hop into this single post. And we can see really quickly, we have the 4 post types that you can do to your GMB. Each post type is going to have a little bit of unique data needed, and you can see that that is in the dark gray. So events are going to have dates, offers are going to have dates as well as some extra options, and then your product is going to have perhaps a price range and a different currency. But let's go ahead and look at what they all share alike. And the first thing we have here is our summary. So you're going to simply type in, this is my Google my business post. And this is going to be the content that goes out as your post. So we have a lot of people that do use the spin text option. If you're not familiar with spin text, a quick Google search shall guide you to the light. But essentially, you can do something like this. So I might say, hi, hello, hey, and if I had a long sentence here and there was spin text like that, we would be able to click this button. And if I were to go down and maybe schedule this post as a recurring post, once a week, once a day, doesn't matter. Every time this summary gets rendered into a new post, it's going to switch up and just take one of these variables out of the spin tax. So maybe I might have it like this, and this is a very contrived example, but this is the rest of my message. So you'll see here when we unravel this sentence, we're going to have a bunch of options. Maybe it'll say, hello, this is the rest of my sentence. Maybe it'll say, hey, this is the rest of my message. This is a bit or a way to get variation in text across similar messages. Maybe you're making a message every week getting posted to your GMB that's about your happy hour, and you want to make it look like there's a little bit of variation. You can come in here and do that. We have the next option down is this insert previous post SERP URL. This is what we call daisy chaining. You can see it's just adding this token in here. And what's going to happen when you have this link in there is this post is just going to link directly to the post before it. So it is named pretty understandably, and this is what we call daisy chaining. It is something that I know Chaz uses a lot in his posting strategies. A number of our larger users are actually actively using this functionality. The next thing down here is if you have a Google My Business, one of their free domains, the business domain, you can go ahead and add that by clicking here. And when you have this token in there, the previous URL is actually going to link directly to your Google My Business website's post and not to the Maps URL raw. The next thing we have here is the image gallery. So you can obviously upload any image you have for your GMB post, or you can come and you can use our royalty-free gallery. We are, I believe, connected to Unsplash in the back end, but you can come in here, you can go ahead and pick any image. You can crop it to how you want. I'm going to pick this beautiful image of this brown lab. And you'll see that you then have an image that's going to be posted. The final two things here is the ability to schedule the post. Pretty self-explanatory. One thing to note is we do have time zones that are pinned to your location. So you have a time zone as a user in the account, and then every location is going to be posting in its own time zone. So let's say I wanted to make this post at 6:20 p.m. tomorrow. That is how I would do that. Now, if I wanted to make this post happen every day at 6:20 p.m., I could come in here and I can just put a 1 in for the recurrent day value. If I wanted this to be weekly, I could put a 7 and it's going to repeat every Thursday at 6:20 p.m. You can see how you can pretty quickly build up a posting calendar. Maybe you've got a client, let's say it's a restaurant, and they have happy hour every Monday and Thursday, or every Monday and Wednesday at a certain time. You can come in here and you can just set up a recurring post to post every Monday and Thursday and kind of let people know, hey, today we're having happy hour, here's our deals, please come in. The second post type that I want to get through here is really simple. It's the multi-location post. And all that you're going to see different between the multi-location post and the posting that we just looked at is this locations entry here. And you're just going to be able to come and you're going to be able to select whatever locations you want. So let's say that I wanted to get this Betty's Best Maid service and this law practice GMB, and I could just come in here and I could make a post. Hey, this is my post. And when we go through, we're going to click submit, and that'll go to both of these properties at the same time. One quick note, we actually have some functionality that'll hopefully be live this week, perhaps next week, but you will be able to use tokens and say something like, We are open at location.opening hour, and we close at location.closing hour. And we'll have a bunch of variables where you can actually make a post, and as it gets spun out to these different locations that you've chosen, it's going to pull in the actual attributes for that specific location. So that will be out this week. Just wanted to give you a little preview there. And let's go ahead, hop over. So that is the two posting types that we have directly through the UI. The third posting type is going to be this CSV bulk upload post. So I've got the template opened here in a Google Sheet. Really quickly, let's go ahead and let's look at the headers. We can see that we need the GMB location ID, we need the title of the post, we need the summary, which is going to be the content, the topic type, and all the way down to the upper price, which is optional. So when I go and I wanted to make some actual posts, what I would do is I'd kind of read over this, make sure that I understand all of the values that need to be in here, but you would actually come here and you would just select all of the content below the header, and you would delete all of that content in one fell swoop. You're going to need the GMB location ID for every single one of these. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over to this link here. And if you click this, it's going to open up a new tab. You will be able to go and pull all of the location IDs that you have in your account across all of your Google accounts. And then you can come in here and you can kind of create mass posting schedules. And I believe, if I take a quick look at my notes, that is the last of our posting training or overview. The last functionality that I want to talk about today is the newest functionality. You guys might have seen it. We are pretty excited. We are actively working on adding new features. I actually just released a new feature about 30 minutes before this webinar started, and that's our GeoGrid search functionality. So from a high level, I will just give a quick explanation. This is a visual wrapper around the Google Places API. And the way it works is you give us a business name. In this example that I'm going to look at, we are looking at Domino's Pizza here around Hanover, Pennsylvania, where I currently am sitting. And we can see that we have this nice grid of colored circles with numbers inside of it. Now what we're doing is essentially taking a bunch of different lat-long coordinates surrounding the centroid of our business, and we are simply taking our keyword query that we're interested in knowing where we show up, and we're just running an API call for every single one of these points. Now what we get is this beautiful map where you can actually see for you or your client where your Google My Business listing has holes in its general geography. So we can see here that this Domino's Pizza, when somebody searches for pizza delivery, they have really good visibility around most of the city, but there is a couple of areas where, for whatever reason, they do not have good visibility at all. One little piece of information here, the way that Local Viking is working with this functionality is off of the Google Places API. What you are going to do is simply click on this organization tab here. You're going to go down to the Google Places API input. You're going to add a new API key. You're going to have to go over to console. I believe it's console.developers.google.com. You can go into Google, just search Google Developer Console. You're going to be able to sign up for a GMB or for a Places API key. The two things that you need to do, number one, you need to make sure that there is a billing payment method attached to the account. And number two is you're going to need to make sure that you go in and you click enable on the actual API. So once you log in, you'll be able to search APIs, search for the Places API, click enable. Now, once you've done that, every single Google account that you have that has a card attached to it is going to be eligible for $200 a month in free API credits. So you can actually come into Local Viking, you can add as many of those API keys as you want, as long as each of them is attached to a unique Gmail account with its own credit card or debit card attached, you will be able to stack $200 a month in free credits. $200 a month in the Google Developer Console equates to 5,000 API calls against the Places API. So you can see some simple math. A 9x9 grid is going to generate 81 API calls. If you were to do that 10 times, you would generate 810 API calls. And you can kind of use that math to figure out how many Google accounts you need or how many Places API keys you need. So the last piece of functionality here that I would like to talk about is literally something that went live right now. And we added the ability for you to actually click into any of these GeoGrid points. And you can see what's going on within this exact point. So you can see that this point is going to have all of these properties listed or ranking in this order. And the newest thing we added is the ability for you to actually report spam listings from direct inside the local Viking dashboard. So if I were doing a real audit here, maybe this is going to be my client. Perhaps I say, okay, that's weird. They have a bunch of visibility, but there's one spot around here that they're not very visible. Might click into here and see that there's actually some lead generation listings. These are actually real pizza places, so I'm not going to report them as spam, but you might actually see real spam, and you can come in and you can report directly through the dashboard. That's going to allow you to choose one of your Google accounts, and you can go ahead and do that directly through the local Viking dashboard. Some final notes on this functionality. Right now, we do only support non-service area businesses, so your location does have to have an address, and that means it's going to come down and come out of this suggested search results. And if you don't have that, we're not able to determine your business where it comes through the API. We are actually working on our service area business rank version of this GeoGrid. It's not quite ready. We should be beta testing within the next 2 or 3 weeks here, but that is just the latest update here. Now that is pretty much the grand tour of local Viking. Today is a bit of a tutorial on the actual platform. We didn't get too much into specifics on ranking the properties themselves. If you guys have any extra questions, feel free to drop them in here. See one coming in from Mark. Do you have a source for writing the articles? We have, I guess there's a bunch of content writers around the internet, Mark. If you need one, a suggestion, I have a friend over at SEO Content Hero, Joe Graysberry. He does good work. There's tons of people in the industry that create content. You can reach out to the Web20 guys. They do a good job. I guess it depends on the type of content you need. For a lot of the GMB posts, you don't really need huge posts. You can do a lot with just some review recycling, taking some of your existing GMB reviews and just posting them as little testimonials, taking your Yelp, your Facebook, your Home Advisor reviews and recycling them. There's a number of things you can do to get activity through posting that isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg producing content and getting a bunch of content done. So hopefully that answers your question. Now, as I'm done here walking through the local Viking functionality, is there any last questions you guys or girls have anything you'd like to see? Now would be a great time to give us any feature suggestions. We are pretty quick at getting those implemented. We got one question here from Michael. Yes, Michael, this is definitely being recorded. As soon as it is done, we will go ahead and upload it and get it out. Granted, sometimes GoToWebinar is a little bit questionable with their recording. I've had a couple of recordings get dropped. It seems to be that this one's going through fine, but we'll see at the end when it renders. Now it looks like we're about at the 33 minute mark. That's about where I wanted today to end. I am going to let us run. Again, We are going to do this once a month. For the future, they're probably going to be a lot more revolved around Q&As on actual Google GMB ranking strategies, figuring out what's working, what we're seeing in terms of issues, and kind of just what we're developing in the back end on the engineering side. I want to thank everybody that showed up. There's actually way more than I expected given the late announcement of today's Webby. I will make sure to get this recorded and sent out via email, and we will upload it to the Facebook group. We've got one last question here. What are rank credits? Matt, rank credits are essentially just the traditional rank tracking that we have. So I'll hop back over to my location view here, and I'll just quickly explain. So if you have a keyword you'd like to add, maybe I'm going to search for custom door installation. Now, if I were to set this as once a week and I just had one of these types that we were getting results from, that's going to take 1 credit a week to do that. So roughly 4 credits a month if it's a 4-week month. If I were to add all 3, then that's all of a sudden going to take 3 times the amount, and we're up to 12. So that is how the credit systems works. If you choose 48 hours, obviously those credits are going to get dinged every 48 hours, as opposed to something longer like every 2 weeks, which means you're probably only going to get your credits hit twice a month. Hopefully that is a good enough explanation for you, Mr. Rhodes. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I am going to jump off. I've got a few things to do. Again, I truly appreciate you watching. If you ever have any questions at all, you can get a hold of us via the live chat down here inside the site. You can email us directly at team@localviking.com. You can reach out to me, Nate_Fisher, Fischer, on Skype, or you can always hit up myself, Mark, or Chaz in the Facebook group. Thank you very much, and I will see you guys next time.